Fridays are awesome. Got a lot of feedback when I didn't say that last week. I'm Carl Azus with CNN Student News. 2 days after a March 31st deadline for an agreement on Iran's controversial nuclear program, international diplomats meeting in Switzerland said they had one. It's not a final deal. Details between Iran, the U.S., and several other countries still have to be worked out by June 30th. President Obama called the agreement a good deal that will prevent Iran from building a nuclear weapon. In exchange, world powers will lift their sanctions that have hurt Iran's economy. Israeli officials who were not involved in the negotiations called the agreement a poor framework that could make the world more dangerous. Republicans and some Democrats in the U.S. Congress have been skeptical of an agreement with Iran. They may try to block it. Next, to the African nation of Kenya, the Al-Shabaab terrorist group, which is based in neighboring Somalia, says it attacked Christian students at a Kenyan university yesterday. Kenyan officials say Islamist gunmen killed 147 people and wounded scores of others. All 4 of the attackers were killed. Kenya's president says his country's been suffering from a shortage of security officers. He called for their training to be sped up. There's a storm brewing in the western Pacific Ocean. As of last night, it was headed right for the northern Philippines. Here's what Typhoon Maysak looks like from space. At one point, it was a super typhoon with 150-mile-per-hour winds, but it was weakening as it approached the Philippines, still expected to bring strong winds and flooding and interrupt Easter celebrations in the mostly Catholic country.
It's hard to grasp where we are. How much is a permanent climate change? How much is a temporary variation? What we do know is, and I asked this gentleman over here, have you ever stood on this meadow on this day that there wasn't snow? And he said no. You might ask him about that. So it's a different world. We have to act differently.
Ongoing drought in the Golden State. California is in the 4th year of a worsening water crisis, so its government is ordering almost everyone to reduce their water usage by 25%. The cut doesn't apply to the state's agriculture industry, and that's controversial because agriculture uses about 80% of California's developed water supply. But campuses, golf courses, cemeteries have to all limit their water. Trees are being replaced with cactuses. Experts estimate that California needs 11 trillion gallons of water to recover from this.
They say you never miss the well till the water runs dry. It's true. Who would have ever thought that I wouldn't have any water?
Did you ever actually cry because of all what was going on?
Have I cried? I cried myself to sleep a lot of times and I've lost weight.
Unlike a small earthquake, which jolts you into the reality that you need to be prepared for the big one, the drought is kind of like a slow-moving disaster. You don't really realize just how bad it is until it hits you hard.
How long have you not had running water in the house?
It's been a year and 1 month. One of my daughter, you know, she came from school and she started, Mom, you know what, I can't be living this way, you know. They say that I don't got no water, that I didn't shower and this and that I stink.
Hi.
From the towns to out here in California's beautiful countryside, you really get a glimpse of exactly what the drought is doing to this state, especially here atop Pine Flat Lake. It's one of California's largest reservoirs. You'll notice, when the water runs out, there are rings left behind, where the water once was. Even GPS is having trouble keeping up. According to this, we should be submerged in deep water right now.
We really had a terrible winter in terms of rainfall and snowfall. So there's no snow in the mountains. There'll be no snow melt to recharge, to replenish those reservoirs. California has about 1 year of water left in its reservoirs on the surface.
So far, county officials say more than 960 households have reported their wells have run dry, which accounts for up to 5,000 people who don't have running water in their homes. So what are people doing? Well, sometimes it's neighbors helping neighbors. Sometimes people are getting water just stacked up on their front door. And other times, nonprofit groups and the county are working hard to try to put tanks in yards so that people can have running water. But it's a temporary fix.
We weep with them, you know, because you want to help them with something, you know, and then at the same time, you know, I mean, what can we do for them? You know, we can provide everything that they need. There's 24 shower units.
How often are they used?
Every day. The resources coming in, they're helping somewhat. But the crisis is growing, the situation is growing worse by the day.
The amount of water that we have available to us in the West is in steady decline. We have to embrace that if we want to keep living out here.
Some significant religious holidays will be celebrated this weekend. Sunday is Easter Sunday, the most significant holiday for the world's Christians. It celebrates the biblical account of when Jesus Christ rose from the dead, his resurrection, on the third day after he was crucified. Easter wraps up the Christian Holy Week, a time marking events in Jesus' life with church services, ceremonies, and Christian fellowship. Also, the Jewish holiday of Passover starts today. It's named for the Torah account of when God passed over the homes of the Israelites, sparing their firstborn children from death, but killing those of the Egyptians. Afterward, the Israelites were liberated from slavery in Egypt. Passover is marked with special meals, rituals, and rejoicing. Roll call. Anyone know the state nickname for Alaska? It's the last frontier, and on the island of Unalaska, the Raiders are watching at Unalaska City High School. Arkansas is a natural state, and it's in the city of Magnolia that the Cubs are online. Magnolia Junior High School on the roll. And in the Peach State, it's great to see the students of Forsyth Central High School in the city of Cumming, Georgia. More than 292 million trips were made last year to America's national parks. Many visitors were closer to your parents' age than yours. In fact, the number of national park visitors under the age of 15 has dropped more than 50% over the past 10 years. Why? One former ranger says younger people are more plugged in, while the great outdoors is an unplugged kind of place. But there are still more than 800,000 junior rangers who got their patches last year. Before we go, here's a lighthearted look at how to stay safe near unpredictable park fauna.
It's animal safety pop quiz time.
All right, well, Morgan, here, let's try this. I'll hand you over my bear spray for a second. Please don't spray me. We'll run through and practice. Like, I'll either call out what I'm doing, or you decide how it is you're supposed to respond to that.
Okay.
So I'm just feeding.
Okay, so here's what Matt's taught me. If the bear is unaware of you, slowly back up.
I'm just gonna back away from the bear. I'm just gonna slowly back away from the bear.
But if he notices you, speak to him in a loud but steady voice.
Now, hey bear, you keep eating, bear. I'm just leaving. I have nothing to do with this bear.
And if he starts coming your way, stay calm and perfectly still.
Now he starts coming toward me, so I stand my ground. I don't move. Now you're about 20 feet away.
And if all else fails,
now I got my bear spray out.
Go on the offensive.
Take that, crazy bear! Back to your bear house, bear!
I really showed that fake bear who's boss. Next up, how to handle a moose.
All of a sudden, it runs at you. What do you do?
And then I just start zigzagging. I get behind a tree. Yeah. And then I zig this way. Yeah. And then I zig this way. And then I go up in the woods.
But yeah, that's actually perfect.
You can't even get me, moose. I'm not even here. I'm up in the woods. Moose escape, success.
Of course, you could try to intimidate it by flexing your muscles, but that could be moosely ineffective. It's probably not the antler. It's time for us to hoof it, but please join us next Monday for a special Financial Literacy Month themed edition of CNN Student News.